So this video, I'm going to kind of like walk you through the steps that I'm going to speed walk you through the steps of finding a source that is peer reviewed, identifying it as peer reviewed, and then also how to read it, okay, or at least go through the steps of how to read it, okay. So I'm going to continue down that route of looking for panda bear habitat stuff. So I am using Academic Search Premier, and I know that I'm using that because it's right here. So I go down and I see it here. Well, the one thing I will say is make sure in the previous article or the previous videos about like just introducing you to the database, it says make sure that you click full text. Now I forgot to type or to click scholarly source because I'm just typing. Okay, panda bear habitat. So just searching, let's see what happens. Remember, I forgot to type or I forgot to click. What is going on here? That usually doesn't happen. But I forgot to click academic or scholarly sources because I'm a doofus. So I'm just going to show, oh my god, wow, what's happening? I said Academic Search Premier. There we go. You chump. Come on now. This usually doesn't happen. Oh. So again, let's go through. Full text. I forgot to do scholarly or peer-reviewed sources because I'm a doof. Panda bear habitat. Okay. So, and I forgot to do advanced search because I'm a doof. All right. So, looking at this here. So, oh, look at this. Black, white, and red all over. That looks fun. That looks totally fun. Oh, this one. So, climate change bears down on hapless pandas. Ooh, I want to look at this one. So, I'm going to click on it just to double check. What can I find? All right. Because I know, okay, so there's the author. It's written in volume and issue. It is only one page long, and it does have a date that is month or that has a date in it. The abstract simply talks about it as an article. It does have a DOI, so I'm a little unsure whether or not this is a scholarly source. So I'm going to click New Scientist and see if it is a scholarly or peer-reviewed source. So I'm going down, peer-reviewed, no, it is not a peer-reviewed source. So this is not a source that I could use it, I could, because I only need one peer-reviewed source, but I am looking specifically for a peer-reviewed source. Plus, it's only one page long. I don't know if it's going to give me, that's how long the article is. That's pretty stinky. Look, I can have it read to me. That's fun. So let's take a look at my list of sources again. See if I can find a different source that is academic. Okay. So in Nepal, I don't understand that. That's kind of because habitat use and selection by giant pandas. This looks interesting. Let me take a look here. So, holy moly, look at the list of all those authors. And like if I could click on these authors and just see like what they are associated with. Anytime that there's a link, it means that you can look for other sources. Like you can click on it and find more information. Oh, this just gives me a bunch of other articles that this Vanessa Hull has published. Probably not. I don't really want to go through that right now. I'm still looking at this source to see if it's relevant. I do see, oh, it's got a day, month, year. That might not be great. It's volume and issue, and it is 18 pages, so that does look pretty good. Oh, the abstract. Animals make choices, where to spend their time, analyze habitats. So this is about why they select, oh, habitat of this endangered species. Habitat to different assumptions of broad scale. Okay, so I'm just skimming the abstract. It does talk about how the pandas choose their habitat. This might have something to do with the destruction of their habitat. So I'm going to take a look. It doesn't. There's nothing on here that leads me to believe that it's academic. Oh, is it? Does it say it down here? It's got a DOI number. So I'm going to click on, it's PLOS One. Click on what this has to say about PLOS One. Oh, It is a peer-reviewed source. So this is, if I'm looking for a peer-reviewed source, this is a good source to have. Okay. So I'm going to go back, and here, the article's not at the bottom. So where do I find it? It's up at the top here. So I can click PDF full text. And this is where it'll start to give me information about the source, or give me the source itself. So remember, it's 18 pages. There's no way that I'm going to be able to read all 18 pages. The 18 pages, that seems intense. Oh, look at all the numbers associated with this are all the places that these people are related. Like, this is what their academic background is. So Vanessa Hull, she's like Department of Fisheries and Wildlife in Michigan State. That's interesting that she's talking about giant panda bears, but she's in Michigan. That seems weird. However, Jindong Zhang he or she is part of the Laboratory of Southwest China Wildlife Resources Confirmation. Okay, so a lot of these places are specific to research or habitat, panda bear habitat conservation. So, okay, this is good. This is a source that I think would be a good idea. Now notice how there's an introduction here. This introduction, remember, provides you with context of the source, context and exigence. So tells me about their wildlife. Oh, and then there's a link here. Now if I click it, it brings me to their list of references. And look at that. They're actually citing this source. And it told you on one of the slides to take a look at their works cited page. Look at that works cited. This is definitely a researched article. This is not a bunch of high schoolers putting together a research paper. Low-key shade. But so this looks like it's a pretty credible source. So I'm going to read through the introduction, and then so it's summarizing a lot of the research that has already been done. So take a look at habitat selection. I'm looking at language. Again, the language that's used here helps me identify that this is an academic source. So they actually use the scientific name for a giant panda. So they talk about where they're found. This stuff seems way more easy to understand. This is giving me the context of why they've done this. This is something that I would annotate. All of this stuff, all the introduction, I would absolutely annotate this. Now, the methods. So study area and panda subjects. I'm going to skim through this and just see where are they studying these panda bears. So it tells me where in China they have looked at them at the particular wild reserve. So it's giving me more information here. This seems like stuff that I could just skim. It also tells me that there's tables and figures that where they talk about where they've researched these pandas. So maybe all I need is this page where it's just a map. Okay, so this is where they did the research, and then they studied 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different pandas, and they give me all the information about those pandas. I have no idea what a fixed acquisition rate. I have no idea what total fixes recorded. I don't know what any of that means. Days monitored. So some of this information is relevant, and some of it is just over my head, and I don't know if I need it. Okay. Estimating panda utilization distributions. I don't know what's happening here. I'm going to skip that. Habitat characteristics. I might read that because that seems relevant to understanding what they chose for habitats. So I could read, and this seems a lot easier to read. So I would probably go through habitat use models. I don't know. See, this is when we start getting into this stuff, this is when I get lost, right? I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of people, a lot of lay people, meaning the general public that read these academic sources, this is where they do get lost. And that's okay. What they're doing is they're trying to confirm for people with background on this topic that they're doing good research. So for us, for me, I don't know anything about this, so I'm just taking their word for it. They're just conveying to me that this is relevant, like this is accurate research. So I'm gonna keep moving. This is not something I'm habitat selection models. Again, I don't know what that is. Results. So pandas use areas with gentle mid-road slopes. So telling me where they, this half of it seems relevant. I might summarize this and see if I can understand it a little bit. So this seems relevant, something I can read, habitat use across space and seasons. That's something that I would definitely spend time annotating. Habitat selection for different, so notice again how all of these have different like headings for them to help me understand like, is this a relevant part of this research? Yes or no. So some of these, like yes, read it because that seems good. Others, no, because no, I don't understand what that means. So habitat selection for different habitat characteristics at multiple scales. I might skim through that. Here's some models that I don't understand, and that's okay if I don't understand them, because I'm just looking for information that I can understand. Now the discussion, this is, look at this specifically says this study makes new contributions to understanding habitat use and selection of the endangered giant panda. So this tells me specifically how the research is relevant and important. So here's all this information that I can utilize in my research. Again, more charts that I don't understand. I don't know. But then important demonstrate this. So look at all this stuff and notice how some of the stuff, like look at how much of this page I'm actually gonna end up reading. That much. I think you can do that. You're okay. So I'm going through more charts that I don't know if I need to understand these. That's okay. Reading more information. Reading this. Further research should also be done on the ground to detect See, look, I'm and it specifically says, look, we need to spend more time looking at human activities and how that influences habitat use and selection of habitats. So, um, so this is, I would say there's approximately 50% of this article that I would not read and annotate. So, that took me from start to finish. And I didn't replicate this research. I didn't go through this research in preparation for the video. I was just like, well, we'll see what happens. So it took me approximately 12 minutes to find a source that was academic and to skim through it. And I would say it'd take me another 30 to 40 minutes to annotate it. So I would say for a peer-reviewed source, you're going to spend about an hour's worth of work on it. But it is important because some of you are going to end up doing source topics that are pretty complicated. Some of you are going to be doing sources that are doing topics that you only can do, that you can only use peer-reviewed sources. Students in the past have used 5 or 6 sources and they've all been peer-reviewed. Okay, so that's just what it is, and that's okay. That is totally okay. It's a 5 to 7 page paper on an academic source. You're going to spend some time on peer-reviewed sources. So I just wanted to give you a heads up about like how to read some of these sources because they can be super complicated. And I hope if you have questions about the peer-reviewed sources, bring them to the Google Meet on Tuesday. Okay, so.